we go. Okay. Okay, this semester, and it's going to be a little awkward starting out because they don't have the software installed, but we are going to be using the latest version of Photoshop, which is CS4. There are significant changes from CS3 to CS4. Okay, so if you have CS3 at home, that will work, but as I'm lecturing and I'm covering material in here, especially when I cover some of the new features, it will be pretty foreign to you because Photoshop does look a little different. And there are some nice new features. So I don't know if that's why I asked before class started, has anyone gone to the bookstore? Because the book that we will be using is Adobe Photoshop CS4 Classroom in a Book. Okay? Not the CS3 that they probably have, so don't buy that by mistake. Now, we don't have class next Monday, so if you want to buy it from Amazon.com or go to your local bookstore and see if they have it at a better price, you're welcome to do so. Because you really won't need it for another week and a half. And that should give you plenty of time to get the textbook. I will also show you online. I'm going to have to change it because I was told last week that no, we won't be installed in time, so we will have to teach CS3 this semester. And suddenly today that's changed. So I'm trying to be as flexible as possible with all of this. The other thing is materials that you'll need. You just need a flash drive. Everybody knows what those are? The little USB drives, those thumb drives that you plug in. Anybody not know what they are? Storage device? No? Let's see if I have one in here. I should. I think they look like this. This isn't one. This happens to be a dongle or a key, but they look like this. I think I have another one in here. Some people carry them on their keychain, and some people carry them around their neck. You can buy them pretty inexpensively from $10 on up, and they hold quite a bit of data. You know, here's one like this. And then you take it apart, and then it goes in either in the side of the keyboard or it goes in the front of the computer. And this is where you'll save all of your files. In addition to that, what you will need, and we provide, will be blank CDs, and you'll use that to archive your files, to back them up, because these things do fail. And if they fail, and you've been working for weeks on a project, and it's gone, it's gone. You know, so this way you'll be able to back it up. The other thing your money goes towards, the lab fee, is paper and ink. So everything that we do in this class, with the exception of these exercises, but the projects that we work on, you'll be able to print using that printer in the back. And it does a very nice job. Okay, so that's what your lab fees go for. You don't have to worry about those supplies. It's just making sure that you have the textbook, that you have the thumb drive, that you have maybe some paper to take notes. And that's it. So for this Wednesday, have a thumb drive and have some paper. And the textbook, make sure it's the Adobe Photoshop CS4 Classroom in a Book. And if the bookstore only has 3, don't get it, because within the next week or so, they will have CS4 installed, and they're like night and day. They're very different. So many of the exercises are the same, but the interface and many of the things that you can do are really pretty different. It looks really different, at least. Okay, any questions so far? No? Okay, what I want all of you to do, because this is how you'll stay in touch and stay current in the class, is that I have a website. Actually, I have multiple websites, but you'll go to the one website to have access to everything else. That will be the videos that I'm talking about. It'll be articles that I write. It will be the syllabus. It'll be handouts of any kind. They'll be available here. And so this is where I want you to go. Type in kmart66.com. And this is what you should get. Okay? So either make note of that, write it down, or memorize it. It's Kmart, like the store, 66.com. And this will give you access to 2 additional websites. Okay? Now, what you will, before you do anything else, what I would like you to do, so that when I do write articles, when I do post things, you should get notification, especially when I write an article. So we're over to the right here where it says enter your email address and subscribe. Go ahead and do that. Just put in your email address and click subscribe, and then it should take care of it. And it may email you, and you may have to send back a confirmation. Okay? Now, if you don't get any kind of notification after I've written an article, or because sometimes I don't, it takes me a while to write these articles. So for a while I was doing pretty good. The first few months writing, or a couple months I should say, writing one a week, an article a week, but it was taking quite a bit of time. Now it's fallen off to maybe once every month, if that. It just takes a while to write these things. Okay. So what you will need to pay attention to are 3 places. It says here where it says Kirk's classes, we're going to go there in a minute. That will be an important one. The other 2 links will be video lectures. So when you click on this, it takes us to another page, and you'll notice for each of my classes, it will label the lecture, and it will tell you the title of it. And when you click on it, okay, so if I click here for Art 192, here's the overview from last semester, and here it is. This is in Google Video. Okay, so you'll be able, it's not the best quality, but the sound now that I have a wireless microphone is much better, and you'll be able to follow along pretty well. It's difficult to see the screen real well and to see what I'm clicking on. But I try my best to explain in detail what I'm doing. And if you've already seen the lecture or been here, is a review. It won't be half bad. Worst case scenario is that if you miss the lecture overall, entirely, and this is the only way you're getting the information, at least it's something. It will, I have been told by some of my students that it does help. Okay? So for all my classes, that's where they are. And you'll notice that there's some that are missing. And that's because my video camera failed last semester, and there were a couple of weeks where it just wasn't able to post anything. So that's one place that you'll go frequently. The other is, and this is where you should go every week, or this is This Week in Class. When you click here, it's under Bulletin Board. You'll see it's a mini syllabus. For each of my classes, it will have, for this week, what are we doing? So you can see in Art 192, Monday is Art Introduction. Classwork is to review classroom procedures, which is what we'll be doing. And your assignment is to purchase textbook and supplies. And you'll notice that I have here Adobe Photoshop Classroom in a Book by Adobe Press. It's by the Adobe Creative Team. And if you click on here, it will actually take you to Amazon.com. But it's not the right one. It's CS3. So tonight I will update this. Because as I said, I was told last week we were continuing with CS3, not CS4. So it'll be kind of a slow start. So don't buy CS3, only buy CS4. And if it's not available, because I got mine from the publisher, so I don't know what we'll do. We'll think of something. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. So if every week, on Sunday night, you log on, you look to see what we're doing, then you'll know. Because I have a syllabus that will be found elsewhere, and it will give you week to week what we're doing, but it is flexible. Depending on holidays, it depends on a variety of things, whether we speed up or slow down. So this will give you up to the minute, standing of what's expected in class. So that's two things that you'll go. Kirk's classes is the other one. That's where I need everybody to go now. When you click on that, that takes us to another website. And you'll notice at the top, this is the welcome page. So it tells you who I am and my title, and it gives you my voicemail, it gives you my Cerritos email, it gives you my office, which is right back there, and my office hours. I have morning office hours, but if you grab me during class, we can meet after class, we can meet during lunch. My lunch is usually from 12 to 12:30. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's from 11 to 12:30. Okay. Now, to get an idea, I'm going to jump from welcome to artwork real quick, so you can see the kinds of projects that we do in class. Okay, so here's a little slideshow, and this is for all of my classes. These are from all of my classes. Art 186 is Illustrator, so that's the first group. Then the next group in here, these are all the Photoshop projects. Not all of them, but a pretty good sampling. This group of 9. CD covers, DVD covers, posters, a variety of things. Here's a beautiful, this is a beautiful poster here of Che Guevara. For those of you who want to do the advanced, I have what is called, it's not something I invented, it's something I found online, but it's a pretty good idea. It's called the Invisible Man Project, where you take a photograph, whether it's your personal photograph or one that you scan from a book or a magazine. And it could be, in this case, this is Arnold Feeney wedding, classic, Northern Renaissance painting. But you'll notice that wherever there is skin, or there should be a hand's face or whatever, it's all missing. So they've had to erase it, but then at the same time, you'll notice that they had to also fill in these holes and retouch it so that it looks complete. It's not as simple as it appears. Some are easier than others. If we look at this one's a little bit easier. See how he had to make up where the neck would be covering the back of this shirt? He had to fill that in. Now, because the background here of the grass and the sky are pretty easy to retouch, that was easy to fill in here and here. This is the hardest part in here. So there's that kind of project. As I said, there's posters, there's CDs, DVD covers. This was a nice one, done a while ago. There's another one that was a VHS cover. We do book covers, all kinds of stuff. Those are the equivalent of your tests. On a day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis, we do the exercises in the book. I demonstrate the exercises in detail, or I just simply demonstrate the principles covered. And then you do the exercise, and when you're done with the exercise, you show it to me, I check it off, and we're good to go. After we've done a series of exercises, I feel you should know enough to do a certain project. So I'll say we're going to do a postcard project. So now what you have to do is you have to collect a bunch of photographs, and you have to take bits and pieces of each and put them together and construct a brand new image in postcard format or something like that. Okay? And then we do more exercises, and then I'll say, okay, at this point in time, it's time for you. And we'll be doing exercises and the projects all at once after a while. There'll be multiple things going on at the same time. Initially, I'll be demonstrating exercises, you'll be doing exercises. And then we get to the point, I'll be doing exercises, you'll be doing exercises, and at the same time, during lab time, which is after the first hour, then what we'll be doing is you'll be working on either exercises and or the projects. And if you want to continue at home, you're welcome to. If you feel you need extra lab time, there is a class on Tuesdays and Thursdays taught by John Doyle in here and next door. It's 189L. It's a lab class. And all the class is it gives you 3 hours more a week to work on your projects, to be able to sit in here during that time and to work. That's what it does. Okay? So I encourage you, if you think you're going to need extra time and you don't have a computer at home, don't have the software at home, then to at least sign up for it. You can always drop it later on. It's only a few bucks because it's a 1-unit class, and that will give you extra time to work. Okay? So if you're curious to see, said in my Illustrator class, these are examples of the work that we do. At the top in my web class, these are sample websites that will take you there from that students have done. In my 3D modeling class, there are again about 8, 9 samples of work that's here. You'll see samples of the work that's done in there. So this gives you an idea of the kinds of projects my students do. In addition to that, if we go back to, just a minute, let me go back here for a minute. If I go back here, if you're curious to know where I went to school, how many years I've been here, what kind of artwork I do, that sort of thing, why I chose Kmart, these other links here are to my personal website. So that takes you yet again to another website. And if you're not interested, that's okay too, but I just wanted to let you know what these are. Okay? So I'm going to go back again to here. And now I want everybody to go to Handouts. Okay? For the assignments specific to this class, you will click here where it says Art 192. Opens up a page, and I have some handouts that cover scanning basics, which will be important to us later on. Type basics, which it's really a repeat of that lecture that I have of a lecture that I have available online, a video lecture that I cover. We have these assignments. The first one will be the postcard. Then we'll probably do a CD cover or maybe a DVD cover, a book cover, movie poster. Who knows? It could be a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, and then we have the final project, which I do continue with, and that is to restore and retouch an old damaged photograph. That will be your final project. That serves as you don't have a final test where you come in and you take a test. This will be a final project that will be due the last regular day of class. Okay, so that's where you find all of those, all of the assignments. What I want to focus on today is a way of introduction are the grading, my grading policies and syllabi, classroom procedures, right here, where it's the little A+ symbol. When you click on that, it loads a page, and we have classroom procedures. If you want to look at the syllabus for Art 192, you can download that as well. It gives it 18 weeks, week by week, pretty much what we're doing. I'm not going to cover all of that today. It's really unnecessary. What I do want to cover, though, is the classroom procedures and my grading policy. So if I click on here, and it works really well if you have Safari opened up. When you click on it, these are PDF files, and they should automatically just launch and open up when you're done in Acrobat Reader. Okay? It's 3 pages long. And there we go. So let's go over this point by point, not take too long, and then cover how I grade. Okie doke. Rules that the school has imposed on us and rules that I break. We're not allowed to have any smoking, eating, or drinking in the classroom, and I break 2 of these 3 rules. I do allow eating and drinking in the classroom. Now, having said that, let's start with the drinking. That in the morning, I generally bring in tea or coffee. It has to have a lid. So any drink that you have in class has to have a screw top or some sort of lid. And what I prefer you to do is, rather than set it up on here, just put it on the floor. And then what happens is, if it gets tipped over and it spills, we get a stain on the carpet. No big deal. And in my classes, we haven't had any catastrophes. I notice in some other classes, there's remnants of it, but we haven't in ours. Just by adhering to that, it's worked pretty well. If you eat in class, if you have to have your lunch in the afternoon, that's okay too, but just be careful making sure that your hands aren't greasy when you put them on the keyboards, and then you don't lean over the keyboards and leave potato chip crumbs or something in there. But I don't mind if you have something nearby and you're munching on it while you work, because while it sounds like 6 hours a week is a long time, and in some respects it is, if you do not have a computer or Photoshop at home, the 4 hours that you have in class will be really needed to get all of the exercises done and really do justice to all of the projects that we will have. Because we have about 4 projects, maybe 5. In addition to that, we have maybe 10, 11 exercises that we do. So if you figure, after 4 weeks, okay, then we have maybe 12 weeks left, 13, 14 weeks. You have 3 to 4 weeks each to do the other projects. In addition to that, you're doing the exercises. And I try to get a big chunk of the exercises done first before you start the projects, so that you'll be up to speed and you'll feel somewhat comfortable using the program. How many of you have used Photoshop before? A couple of you I know have. Oh, a lot of you. Okay, so you're ready to go. You're pretty familiar with it? Or yes, no? Real familiar? Sort of familiar? Even though it's an introductory class, you feel pretty good about it. Okay, well then we'll see where we're at. If you're really familiar with it, how many of you have never used it before? Okay, well then this is for you too. So I have to hit a happy medium here. I can't go too fast, I can't go too slow. As I point out in number 2, just be prepared to work. Make sure Wednesday you have a thumb drive, you have something to take notes, and next Wednesday that you have your textbook. Now, if the textbook hasn't been released yet, and I got an early copy, then there's not much I can do about that. We'll have to do something else until it's out. My bet is the bookstore has CS3, and that's not going to help us. Since we have a variety of things going on at one time, I'll be lecturing. We have the exercises that you're working on. We have the projects that you'll be working on. It's important that you learn to pace yourself, because I'll be working on an exercise and maybe you're a little behind. Some of you might actually get a little bit ahead. If you are ahead, then you might want to leave the exercises a while and really focus on spending more time on the projects. But it will become a balancing act. I find that some students, unfortunately, get too behind with the exercises, and it's near the last week of class, and they're missing a bunch of them that I have not checked off. So when you're done with the exercises, from the book, and I tell you which ones to do, then you just show it to me, and I say, okay, that looks pretty good, and I check it off. And at the very end, when we talk about grades, I'll tell you how much all of those exercises that you've done, what they add up to. How do they impact your grade? So try to stay up with me and make sure, and I will let you know in that little mini syllabus online. It'll say, you know what, this week we're working on such and such exercise, we're working on such and such project, and next week this project is due. So you'll have an idea, within a week or so when you'll have things due. So try to, even though there might not be anything specific that I tell you to do, you'll have a pretty good idea of where you need to be, what needs to be completed, or what you at least should be working on. See, if you're tardies and absences, I do not, even though I state in my handout here that I dock points from your grade. I do not. I just leave that in an emergency kind of situation, that at least it's there. It does affect your grade, however, if you're not here, because I don't see you working if you're not here, and effort does count. Does that make sense? If I see you working on a project, and what if you take it all the way almost to the point of completion and your flash drive dies, and I've been watching you all along work on that project. It's due, it's time to move on. I can at least give you partial credit for it. If you take it all at home and I don't see you working on it, and you say, you know what, I had it almost done, but my computer crashed, oh well, I can't give you any partial credit because I don't see you working. Does that make sense? So it can have, in a direct way, an effect on your grade. It also, and I don't know how many instructors will admit this, but when I see somebody working hard, even though the project may not be to the level I had hoped, the level of completion, I will probably give that person the benefit of the doubt when it comes to grading. And I don't think I'm that hard a grader anyway. But if the person chooses to work at home, that's fine. But when I see the final project, I base it on the criteria that I have outlined. And if it doesn't hold up to that, then I grade accordingly, because I haven't seen them work. I don't know whether they spent 10 minutes on it or 10 hours on it. So I can only base my grade on what I see, the final outcome, the finished product. However, if I do see you here in class working, seeing that effort does have an impact on me. I would like to say it doesn't, that I'm just being totally objective and I just base same on work. Effort counts. I guess that's the bottom line, that when I see you working here. So that's how tardies and absences do affect you. After several repeated absences, meaning after 6, I'm supposed to drop you, but I do not. I rely on you to do that, and then 4 weeks before the end of the semester, if you haven't participated and I haven't heard anything from you, and I'm expected to purge my rules, then I do that. But if you let me know, you know what, I'm behind, I think I can catch up, I had to go out of town, I've been sick, whatever, just let me know. Just stay in contact, email me. The reason, as I mentioned, that I allow you guys to drink or eat in class is to make use of the time that you have here. So if you do want to help one another, that's fine. As far as socializing and just goofing around, just go ahead and take a break. But if you're helping one another scan or work on a project, that's fine by me. I don't mind at all. In fact, I encourage that. Number 7, this is a relatively new one. This is cell phone etiquette. I know there are signs outside that say turn off your cell phones or no cell phones allowed and that sort of thing. I do allow them. The only thing that I ask of you is that I ask you to put it on vibrate, so that if you need to check your phone and it's, and take a call, no one has to hear your ringtone. And all you have to do is get up, walk out, take the call. When you're done, come back and sit down, and that's it. Okay? No big deal. And I may have to do that myself from time to time. I don't like doing that, but everybody gets important calls. This is my work. This is really important to me. But there's emergencies that happen at home, or have to call a plumber or something, and your house is flooding while you're here teaching or something. Things need to be taken care of. So that, I think, works best. If you're having problems with an assignment, exercise, problems, I should maybe use difficulties, challenges, don't hesitate to contact me by email or talk to me, and hopefully we can work something out. The other thing is, which doesn't tend to be too much of an issue in computer classes, is picking up after yourself afterwards. When I taught traditional drawing classes, and we would have pencils and charcoal and ink and stuff, it would be really important that you clean up after yourself, because then the next group of people would come in and there would be charcoal dust all over, and the person would sit down and get it all over everything if you hadn't cleaned up. Here, it's not a big deal. You don't have that much to bring in. You don't have that much to carry away. Again, illnesses and absences are not a big deal. I don't go by excused tardies or whatever. Or absences. They're tardy. You get tardies or absences, and I just make note of it, and that's it. I do not, as I list in the next page, that I cut points from grades and stuff. I used to do that, but I don't do it anymore. So, classroom participation, attendance, work in class, general attitude, I told you, those do have a direct effect on your grade. The project itself, have you followed directions? You know, what kind, you know, did you solve the problem? Did you meet the required objectives of the project? Did you just fulfill the minimum requirements, or did you do something a little bit creative, something a little bit original, add originality to it? Did you take time and care to do it? So was your presentation, was it clean, neat? How well did you use the tools that we had covered in that during that time? That's really important too. So those are the kinds of things that I look at when I'm grading those projects. When I'm checking off the exercises, I don't know how many of you have done these sorts of exercises before, but I call it cookbook art, because they give you a start file and they give you a finished file. So it's sort of like watching Martha Stewart cook. Here's what the cake is supposed to look like when it's all done. Here are the ingredients that they give you that are all laid out and they're proportioned for you and stuff. And now I'm going to tell you how to put the ingredients together, and you put the oven on at 375 and you put it in for 45 minutes, and voila, when it's done, you have a cake. So all I do is, does it look similar to the one that they want us to do, and I check it off. Then I assume that you followed all the exercises and made it work for you. Where that comes to you know, I take your word for it. It's kind of an honor code. And it will come to pass that when you do a project, how well you you know, it will be apparent how well you understand or don't understand the program, what we've covered. Okay? So as I said, those are sort of like your tests. I used to mark down for late projects. I do not anymore. If you need additional time to work, that's up to you. Take more time, but just realize you're probably taking away time from the next project, which, you know, it's up to you. If you feel, you know, you need a little bit more time and you absolutely need it, then go ahead. I'd rather you take a little bit more time, not a lot, but a little bit more, and do a really good job than turn it in just for the sake of turning it in. However, if it's crunch time and you need to get some sort of grade, then at the very end of the class, of the semester, then turn in something. So at least I can mark down a few points. If I don't have anything in my hands, then I can't give you any points for the project. As far as revised projects are concerned, I would, rather than do an extra credit project, I would rather you take an existing project that maybe you weren't happy with and redo it, revise it, improve it, and use that as a learning experience so that you can do a better job on that, and I will regrade it. Okay? So, how do the exercises and how are the projects graded, and how do they together combine to make your grade? The exercises in total equal one project. So even though there might be 11, 12 exercises that we do on here, that equals 10 points. So if you've done them all and I've checked them all off, that's an A for that one project. And for every project, every exercise you don't do, I take off a point. So if you have not done, because the first one or two of them are pretty much I give you. They aren't a big deal. So if we have 11 exercises to do, and there's 3 of them that you haven't done, then I take off 3 points. So that's 9, 8, 7. That's 7 points. And as you can see, my grading system here, 7 points would be a B on that project. Does that make sense? On the 10-point system that I use, 10 is an A, 9 is an A minus. A B ranges from 8 to 6 points. A C ranges from 5 to 3 points. A D is 2 and 1 point, and an F is 0. okay? So it's just a straight point system. All assignments are weighted the same. The exercises equal 1 assignment. So if we have 4 assignments plus the exercises, that's like 5 projects that are all equal, okay? The final isn't worth more, the midterm isn't worth more. They're all just worth the same. So that is pretty much the grading system and how things are weighted and how I work them out. And you saw online the kinds of projects that we do, samples of posters and things like that. So those are the kinds of projects that we do. And again, to repeat, how I work is that we come in each day, and early on I will probably be doing a demonstration every day until we get up to exercise 4 or 5 or something like that. So for a few weeks we'll be doing an exercise almost every day, and I'm not expecting you to get them done every day. If you do, that's great. And then before we can actually start the first assignment. So I try to spend about an hour, maybe a little bit more time, going over the details of that exercise and maybe, or just the principles of it, and maybe cover some things that aren't covered in the book. And then the remaining 2 hours are for you to work. And when you're done, you're free to go. Okay. And I try to have I will try to have this posted tonight, at least by tomorrow. So by the next class period, by Wednesday, it will definitely be up on, the video of all of this. So you'll be able to review it. And that also helps if you can't come to class, and you can at least watch some of it. And if there's any problems, you're having any difficulties with a particular part. Okay? Do you have any questions of me right now? No? Photoshop, from my perspective, is the most, of all the computer graphics programs that I've used, is the most important one. And I'm not saying that because I'm teaching it at this moment. If you were in my 3D modeling class, or if you were taking my web class, I would say the same thing. I mean, they're all great software packages, but Photoshop is the most used, and it's used for just about everything. If all you wanted to do with Photoshop was to translate a file from one file format to another, it could do it. If you wanted to generate web pages, if you wanted to create content for the web, you can do that. If you needed to create surfaces for 3D modeling, you could do that. If you were taking a desktop publishing class and you were designing a brochure and you wanted to prepare your images for the brochure, adjust lighting, contrast, color balance, whatever basic things that you wanted to do, some basic retouching, that would all be done in Photoshop. So it's used for other programs as well. This is the only one that I know of that is really, aside from Illustrator, and even Illustrator uses a lot of Photoshop files now, but it is totally self-contained. And you can bring Illustrator files into Photoshop, but it's less necessary to do that than it is to do it the other way around. So Photoshop, from my perspective, is at the core of just about everything you do in computer graphics. And it is a really, really robust program, very robust. It was originally developed, I believe, in 1992. Gotta go back again, 90 or 92, can't remember. Illustrator came out in 88. I thought it was 90, maybe 1990. And it was designed as a retouching tool. So it put all the retouchers out of business. The traditional retouchers, just like desktop publishing put out all the typographers out of business. There aren't any type houses anymore. Everybody is their own typesetter. But Photoshop has come to do a whole lot more, especially with the development of web. Because you can design web pages in Photoshop. You can create animated GIFs. In CS4, they've added features now that if you have alias wavefront files, you can bring in 3D objects and you can edit surfaces in Photoshop. So there's a lot of things that you can do. It's a great way to manage files because of Bridge, which is something that we'll go over on Wednesday. We'll cover all of these in exercises and just go over it briefly on Wednesday or in great detail on another date. But Bridge happens to be an ancillary program. Everybody use Bridge a little bit? Well, it's especially useful when you import digital files. And you've looked at all the digital data. If you use the metadata that's available in your digital files, I mean, it will tell you what camera was used, what shutter speed, what f-stop, you name it. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. And you can put additional metadata in there. And some cameras even have GPS built in, and it will tell you where in this universe that photograph was taken. And there are some tools that are available now that when you upload those files to Flickr and stuff, that metadata can be attached to other files to create these incredible experiences. It's really amazing, all the things that you can do. It's useful, Bridge, as I'm talking about it, is useful for organizing all of your content. It's using, you can organize it by name, you can by category, by the quality, by any number of content or metadata that you've added. It could be people, places, who knows? Like, I want to see all the pictures of Paris in 1996. And boom, they'll come up, going from a particular source. I only want to see the good ones that were taken in that year, and they come up, so on and so forth. It is really phenomenal what you can do. They just keep adding more and more features. Some of the things that blow me away now are, if you want to create your own custom panoramic photo, it used to be a real chore and it really did a crappy job. And ever since CS3, it blows my mind. You don't have to have it doesn't have to be taken on a tripod. You can take multiple photographs and they can be up and down a little bit, and it will stitch them together. And there are some really wonderful tools that they have available now. It just, when you're done, it looks darn near perfect. In CS4, there's another nifty new feature that we'll cover on Wednesday. Before, when you scaled a photo, it was best if you constrained the proportions, right? Now they have a new feature that detects content. And if you took a photograph of boats on a lake and it was horizontal and you want to turn that into a vertical picture, it can do that. Now, how does it do that? I mean, I'll show you some videos, or I will do it. It's amazing to watch this in action. It's some really incredible tools. It work here in CS4. It will be really, really nice. You will find useful. It's that tool that you don't use every day, that you have in your arsenal, in your back pocket, that, wow, I could really use something like this right now. Well, they've developed it. There's a lot of really, really good ones. So it is an incredibly powerful and useful program. And that's why I presume all of you are here. It's typically one of our most popular classes, Photoshop is. So, I'm probably forgetting something at the moment, but I think I have covered everything. We have classroom procedures down. I encourage you to look at the syllabus on your own, because now that we're using CS4, it's going to change a little bit. The podcast that I had planned, and this may change, is that in the new version of iWeb, the program that I use to generate this website, they now allow you to attach YouTube videos. So I might be able to attach all my lectures to this website rather than have to go out to YouTube or Google Video. The goal that I really have in mind at some point in the future, which isn't available now, the technology is available, it's just that the school won't allow me to do it, is that I really wanted to, especially for hybrid classes and online classes, I wanted to do live broadcasts where you would have to log in, and maybe you would allow 20, 25 people to log in, and then as I'm lecturing to you, they could be anywhere in the world and they could watch it, and then as they're watching it, it's being recorded and it would be available. But I don't have the cooperation of the school. They don't want to do it. So, anywho, that's why I put all of those together. So maybe someday. There are some the articles that I've written, especially for this class, like tips for creating a new Photoshop document that I leave on here and that will be useful to you, because there's some basic principles that the book does not cover that I really try hard to emphasize. And some of the rules that have been chiseled in stone, it seems, for years are kind of now gradually going away. But this one I still think is useful. You know, when you're starting from scratch, exactly how do you build a document? You know, it sounds simple, but you have to know what is the document going to be used for? Is it going to be used for print? Is it going to be used for the web? Is it going to be used for video projections? You know, what is it going to be used for? And that will determine what resolution you use. It will determine what size you use, meaning physical size. And all those things combined become really important, especially when you're dealing with bitmap or raster files, which is what we're doing. Okay. We can also talk about integration of Photoshop and Illustrator, which has become more and more important of recent. And there's a lot of really nice things that you can do going back and forth between Photoshop and Illustrator. That will be useful. It's taken a little bit less time than I thought, but it's still we're about the hour mark. I've covered, I think, for today, everything that I want. On Wednesday, we will do an overview. I hope to have CS4 on my computer here. If I do not, then there are some lynda.com videos that I have available that we will watch, and so you'll get a sense of the new features and get a feel for the program that way until it's installed here. If there are any of you who want to buy the software, one of the final things that I have to suggest to you is to go to Kirk's classes, go to Handouts, and right here where it says helpful links, uscollegebuy.com, the one right in the middle. Have any of you gone here before? You'll get the best deal ever. Okay? This is the student license program. This is for students, faculty, and staff. You click here. And let me click here. I hope it's here. There we go. Okay, so here's the CS4 Design Premium for Mac or Windows, $314. That's not just for Photoshop. That is, when you click on here, this is for InDesign, Photoshop CS4 Extended, Illustrator CS4, Acrobat 9 Professional, Flash CS4, Dreamweaver CS4, Fireworks CS4, and it includes all of this other stuff. That's all of that. They're not limited programs, they're complete programs, all for $314. It is you won't find a better buy anywhere. You simply have to prove to them that you are a student. So you'll either have to fax or attach a proof of like your student ID or something like that. They'll let you know what you need to do. But this is the best, by far, the best deal that you'll have from uscollegebuy.com. It's even better than Creation Engine or Journey Ed. So if you wish to buy the software yourself, this is where I recommend that you go. Okay? You are not required to have it, but I assume that many of you have plans on using it after this class is over. Another really useful tool for staying current, which is what I use, because the technology does change so rapidly, is lynda.com. Have any of you ever used that or heard of that? Yeah? A couple people? Who has not? Okay. Well, Linda, years ago, taught at Art Center, wrote a book, and over the years has now developed additional tutorials and books, but mostly what they do now are these online videos. And if you want to join it, we'll go there Wednesday. It's $25 a month. There's also student rates for just the semester, so they're prorated. So it's kind of like if you do it on a regular basis, it's kind of like a Netflix. It's $25 a month, and you're only committed to a month at a time. But when you do the $25, you have thousands and thousands of videos that you can have access to. And they are done really, really well. They're very well. So that, as you're, you take this class and you feel, I feel pretty comfortable using CS4, then CS5 comes out. And you go, oh, shoot, how do I use this? Well, this is new, this looks different. Well, if you're a subscriber, you go online, they've already have the videos generally done, and they'll say, okay, these are all the new features, and you watch them, and you can watch them again and again and again, and follow along, or you can, maybe that's it. You just need a little bit of information to get you up to speed, and that's all that it is. And lynda.com, by the way, is L-Y-N-D-A, so it's L-Y-N-D-A.com. So for all the Adobe stuff, it's really, really helpful. So a minimum is $25 a month, $250 annually, so you save a little bit of money. And if you do the premium, it entitles you to some exercises. I don't know that you need the exercises. It depends. If you're teaching yourself, you're not here, then it's not a bad thing to have. If you just need, you're there for additional information and reinforcement of what you're learning, then it's a great tool. Okay. Adobe has some great features too. They have their file exchanges. They have all kinds of stuff that are available to you that you create an account with them, and you have access to stuff that people post. Some of it costs, some of it doesn't. Especially when working in Dreamweaver and stuff, people post all kinds of stuff for these files, these JavaScript little things that you can use, behaviors and stuff that you have access to. It's really pretty cool. And they have that, I don't use it that much for Photoshop, but I have used Cooler for Illustrator, which is really pretty neat, which has to do with colors and colors swatches and schemes, which is really very nice. And they have some other stuff available for Dreamweaver as well as Flash. So that's also very useful. There's all kinds of stuff online that's available to use as ancillary tools in addition to what you're learning here. Okay. Any questions? No? Okay. In that case, we're done for today. For those of you on the wait list, all I can say is hang in there. For those of you who are on the wait list for the advanced class, see me and we can do something about that.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I'm not